Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the All-In Podcast presented by Excellency Esports. I'm the League Dad, and as always, I'm joined by the gang, but we are reinforced and made back whole again because we got our boy Alistair with us. Finally, he's in actually an esports arena, I guess, for your school, and he's all masked up, and he looks like he's been doing some hardcore gaming. But let me start with you, man, because we've missed you. How have you been? How's school going? How are the games going? Just give us an update, man. How are you?
Honestly, not much has changed.
Oh yeah,
I'll
okay.
just be honest.
So what does that mean? Class and school and gaming, and that's pretty much it?
Yeah, everything's going well.
Okay.
Have
all
you
right.
met anybody cool recently?
Yeah, I talked to X Special last weekend.
Oh.
Special. Former TSM support. Won some titles back in the day. That's pretty cool. I heard he's like doing some coaching now,
Yeah.
so
He's coaching for Harrisburg.
that's very
We,
cool.
we didn't really talk. We didn't talk competitive or like LCS. Kind of just talked about the game itself.
That's
Very
pretty
nice,
interesting.
very nice.
Good though.
Very cool. All right. Well, we also got Mitchell and Kevin. Mitchell, how are you? How are things, man? How's life?
I am good. I was better, I think, on just when C9 got in, and then 100 Thieves happens, and then today happens.
Yes.
And while today was exciting, I think I'm a little less on what other people's trains were. It was like, wow, what a great day, historic moment, really exciting gameplay. I'm just kind of pissed we didn't make it in again.
I hear
So that was a bummer. I think I was also a long day at work too, so I was
Yeah.
watching it at work, and I was just like, gosh darn it, we didn't make it in again. But it's
Yeah.
okay. We got one team in, which is all that matters. But
Oh.
that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's right. We're definitely going to dig into that because, that's exciting. But Kevin, unfortunately, Team Liquid didn't get through. They played their hearts out. But besides them losing, how are you? And, you can give us a reaction on your team right now because I know it's fresh.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well besides that. I just started the move, or like I'm almost done moving in to California,
Oh,
so
that's
getting
right.
settled there. Games were exciting. Obviously, yeah, not happy, not jazzed. My team lost, but it was a good day for games. No, it's like the way we lost, but hey, at least we made it. We finally got a tiebreaker. Like, if people don't know, Liquid's been 3-3 for 3 years in a row before this, and
Yeah.
the only difference this year is that we actually got lucky enough to get a tiebreaker instead of being very unlucky with groups. Like, some teams are getting their tiebreakers with 2-4s, but Liquid never had no such luck. So
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
glad that we at least played well enough. I'm
Yeah.
not glad that we didn't win, but I thought we played decently.
And let's start right there with Team Liquid's group. Group D was today. We're actually recording the day that this group just finished. And what a historic, group stage having that big of a tie. And I was really on the edge of my seat. I thought there were, everybody kind of predicted, the analysts and everybody was expecting this group to be pretty close, but I don't think anyone really thought it was going to be this close. And so, spoiler alert, if you guys haven't watched it, stop now. But if you've already watched the groups, then Group D did end up being Genji in first, Madline second, LNG, and then Team Liquid. But again, super close. What are your thoughts, reactions on all of that? Mitchell, why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts, man?
Yeah, the biggest thing was that it ended up after the normal group stage, a four-way tie.
Yeah.
Everybody was tied up. Everybody had one win against each other, which meant it's literally the most even a group could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
They all went 1-1 with each other. The reason matchups were determined were based on time, game time, which I don't think ever happens either. It's not very common at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really interesting and exciting, and makes you wonder, like, you know, there was a little advantage to
Yeah.
having a different play style and playing
Mhm.
faster and winning a game faster, which is kind of funny.
Yep.
Because normally we don't care as long as you get the win in the end, right? Um,
Hmm.
Team Liquid in general, if you look at first week, I definitely think their play left a lot to be desired. especially their early game. It was this week though, week 2. It wasn't really week 2. It was just a couple
Yeah.
days after.
Mm-hmm.
But their early game was so much better, which was nice
Yes.
to see, and which was why they were more competitive with the Asian teams. Unfortunate that we didn't get the 2-0 over Mad Lions. Definitely, that should have been the. We should have just gotten the 3-0 on
Yeah.
the day and
Mm-hmm.
moved over into quarters, but we did not, and then we ended up losing the tiebreaker. So darn.
Darn it! He's so close. Yeah. All
Darn's
right.
a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
So I
mean,
mean,
go ahead, Kevin.
go ahead. I was gonna say on my end, like I mean, yeah, I agree with a lot with Mitchell saying like that all that's frustrating. I will say that like, hey, at least we picked it up earlier this time. Like usually the NA special is what 100 Thieves did, which was don't do anything until you're like literally mathematically out.
Yep.
And at the very least, I will say that I think objectively we actually did like pretty good
Yeah.
until until like the tiebreakers, and it was close until it
Yeah.
wasn't. I'm gonna get more into it as we go, but like, yeah, those are my initial reactions for Liquid as well. There's so many
Okay.
groups to talk about, but man, I really, really wanted NA to get out over EU here. I will say something that really annoyed me and something that becomes relevant more year over year as like these 4 seeds are happening for the good regions. We get a better second seeds just get like better like matchups sometimes. Like C9 just gets a
Yeah.
super easy bracket while Mad Lions gets down. Or wait, no.
100 Thieves.
Mad Lions was second seed and they get down one, and then like you just like randomly have like C9 get Genji. And I was like, okay, that's annoying. But more importantly, because this is just luck, more importantly is the bracket setup where there's just civil wars across the screen. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's really good for C9. Like I'm really happy and we'll probably talk about it. But like it does not make for a good tournament to just see rematches of like what you have already
Yeah.
seen in the regionals.
That's true. Okay. Well,
So
yeah, good
we'll
point.
probably expand as we like get the full picture, tell the viewers about like how the tournament broke down. But like I'm very annoyed with this format because it just like the most exciting part to me probably was the group stage. And like I would love to see the playoffs, but like the draw at least was the most boring thing ever because like you knew exactly like there was like 3 different ways that could have shaked up
Mm-hmm.
realistically.
Yeah, sure. Okay. What about you, Alistair? Your first thoughts, I think, since we've had podcasts on the worlds. Yeah. What are your thoughts on any of this group in particular? What you got?
Honestly, I mean, this is a bit of a recurring theme on most of the groups. I think the quality of games is just really low. This world's.
Definitely.
I think it's mainly the meta
Yeah.
because it's a really boring meta in my opinion. It's Gray is being flexed into 3 roles, who's just
Mm-hmm.
extremely broken. You have the best supports in the world playing Yumi.
Yeah.
You have the best AD carries in the world playing Comet Misfortune.
Yeah.
It's not entertaining to me, and I think that's why a lot of the results that we got actually happened was because I think if there's a meta that requires more execution and more overall skill, Mad Lions doesn't make it out, C9 doesn't make it out.
Hmm. Very
I will
interesting.
say really briefly because I don't usually like to cut in onto this kind of mode, but I would say that it was boring in terms of some of like the level of play that I saw. I actually think this was some of the most exciting in terms of like at first like how much experimentation was going on. It is annoying that this is where we settled on though. I was like, oh god, Yumi like every time Yumi got a dub or was like very impactful, even though they lost, I was like, oh no, this
No,
is gonna
I
be it's gonna be
completely
that kind of worlds.
no, I completely agree with you. I just don't like where the meta ended up with because
Yeah.
it's not entertaining. I mean, sure you got these explosive team fights, but it gets pretty boring watching the same champion survive at 50 HP for 5 seconds over and over and over again.
Strongly
Yeah,
agree.
that
It's
is
so annoying.
definitely the truth. I mean, I think it's good though that if anything, overall, particularly you could see it in this group, but the fact that it was so close, between all 4 of the major regions, I think that's pretty exciting to even watching group stages where before a lot of times there'd be games where I'm like, this is not going to be that great. It's probably going to be a stomp, or it's very predictable. I mean, people's predictions and pick'ems have gone haywire because of the results that happened. And Group D, I'm sure, was pretty hard to predict because it was so close. I mean, all of these teams have shown glimpses of greatness, and then all of them have shown moments of like what the heck is going on. And so, but I did like, quality meta as far as entertainment wise. I agree that it maybe be boring, but the fact that a lot of these games were close, like, we're talking like 1 to 3K gold difference, in like 25, 30 minutes, to me, kept me on the edge of my seat. A lot of times when I'm watching the games and I see a team up by 3,000 gold at 15 minutes, it's 9 times out of 10, that team is just going to win and end it all. But you didn't see that much this time. It felt like teams were always right in it and were able to keep pace. But let's go ahead and talk about our... Oh, go ahead, Alistair. I see you got a finger
I
up.
was about to say I agree, but at the same time, I feel like it was like the games weren't close because the skill level was equal. I think the games were close for other reasons, like hey, this one team has Kiana and Yumi, so they're down 3,000 gold, but it doesn't matter.
It's true.
Stuff like that. I feel like 3,000 gold difference didn't felt like it wasn't like as relevant just because of the meta, and that's kind of my issue with it.
I I think it's like if we were to be more specific than just the meta, it's the fact that like you can kind of just get one shot at any
By
point, no
everything,
matter what, by everything.
yeah.
So 3,000 gold doesn't really matter if everybody's kind of building damage and just one-shotting you. So it kind of gets to this point where I've been noticing it for a while that the game has gone to this point where it's like, you can be really far behind, but if you get a good pick, you can just blow somebody up, and then it does feel like that gold lead doesn't matter too much, and that like games can feel really close. But then, that's from like a quality of gameplay standpoint. It did feel kind of poor in that people made a lot of dumb mistakes, people getting
Hmm.
caught out randomly, it kind of not mattering, people making very poor macro choices. I would say overall, the macro of the tournament as a whole has been really, really subpar.
It was team
Um,
deathmatch.
yeah, it's just run at each other and fight and kind of pop out in little corners. People were playing Urf a ton, maybe, I don't know. Um, it is really
Aram.
yeah, ARAM like just popping out, Dominion, hide and seek, just it just felt very random. But it was very exciting to watch just from a pure entertainment standpoint of like what's gonna happen, we don't know.
Yeah.
All these top Asian teams are kind of just running at NA and EU, and it's working sometimes. So it made it interesting from that standpoint, where
Mhm.
like C9, right? And Team Liquid to an extent, little less Team Liquid, but they are just hard engaging. They're just running in. They're just going. They see person, they go, and that's the meta. And it's not very good quality because you kind of have to think like, is it even worth it to go? But it's very exciting to watch. Wow, they just went in and engaged and fought. Now there's a team fight for no reason, and people are dying left and right. Dragon spawning in 2 minutes. There's no Baron up, no towers to push, but we fought. So that's what it felt like a lot this tournament, and it was cool to watch. I'm not gonna lie, I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
But yeah, if do we want to dive in a little more into Team Liquid, or are we trying to branch out and just do overall stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going for in the first round, like
Right.
talking about Team Liquid. So,
Oh.
I mean, I didn't know if you wanted to move on. I was trying to give you all the opportunity. If you want to, if you have more things
Always
on
down
Team
to
Liquid.
dive in on
All right,
Team
let's
Liquid.
go there because I was going to go to C9 next because obviously we have to celebrate our boys
Fair.
that did make it through. But
Yeah.
get your TL stuff out now because, everything from what you thought of their play to just how they're done for this year now and maybe give your prognosis of them moving into the next year. But any of your thoughts on Team Liquid? Go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I'll start off just with a couple of like quick points. It really felt like Jensen was like a LeBlanc one trick. He played
Mm,
really, really insanely well on LeBlanc, pretty mediocre and almost terrible on the Aurelia. Um, Yeah, he was a bit underwhelming. I didn't really like his Syndra play that much. Usually it's really, really good. But his LeBlanc was really good. I think he got it for 2 games. Both were wins. Um, and Alfari's champion pool is a really big problem, in my opinion. He
mm-hmm,
plays about the same 4 champions. He added Graves, and it looked very mediocre. Oh, and he added Jax, also looked very mediocre.
mm-hmm.
But it's pretty much you can play Gnar, Camille, Jace, and I mean, that's really it, right? Then he
Yeah.
also, I think he played some Graves and Jackson. Both looked pretty whatever. Um, so I think that's like a pretty big problem that, we didn't see any Gwens. We started to see Gwen to pop up a lot
That's
later.
true.
Didn't see any of that. We started to see like, Fiora or things that like you want your ace top laner to take over a game and carry. Like we never saw him on those picks
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, yeah, you're playing Jason, you win lane, and then you get solo killed by someone who has an item down on you. as in Graves, right?
Yeah.
You got solo killed by Rascal when he was an item up or something like that, and that was pretty disappointing. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
The really cool stuff though was their adaptation from first week to second. Like I said, they just became way more aggressive, way more tempo, just diving towers. That's how you have to play
Yeah.
this game,
They
right?
did.
If you're not diving someone at level 3 and stacking a huge wave because of your draft advantage, then you're not playing the game, right? You have to dive someone at level 3 or
Yep.
something. You just have to keep going, and then you can't stop. So I'm glad they picked up on that. Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
I guess on my end, I actually give Jensen a bit more credit. He literally won the Gen G game with his Syndra play, that EQ, and like he was like
That was
they were
good.
down like
Yeah.
5k or 6k, and like his stun from like the Fog of War there just literally won the game. And obviously the core JJ executed perfectly as he is wont to do. But like I would oh, where to go with this? I would say like I think Jensen played actually pretty well as far as like
Mm.
NA's mid laners was. I think he played the best of the tournament, on average, which isn't saying much because like I think Perks had some good games too, but Perks' lows were like even lower, I would say.
Yeah.
I think that Alfari, I think I understand why he has never been on a team that like has done much other than that Misfit squad. I
Yeah.
think that he's like a very sharp sword or spear, right? Like he just like is extremely good at one. He's kind of like Chovy in the top lane for the West. Like he's very good at getting CS lead. Like if you just leave, if this was just like a 1v1 tournament,
true,
you just like
yeah.
set them in isolation. You're like, all right, have at it. You know, I would like be very happy to have him on my squad because he's just so good at it. But unfortunately, it's coming more and more clear that he is not particularly good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna just end there. Sorry, I was.
That
thinking
is like, I mean,
It
okay,
must
yes.
have sounded bad.
No.
He's not particularly good at being stable or like a good player.
Yeah.
In a well-rounded player, right? And I think that he used to be covered by like some very good junglers or something like that. And Santorin and him have literally practiced together like full time for maybe what has it been now?
Like a month
For
or
this
two.
split, it's been like a month and a half maybe,
Yeah.
and then if you like count like the travel and everything, so like clearly there are some issues there. Will they be fixed as a result of more practice? I don't know. I don't know if this roster gets torn apart. I'll say that tactical was a big hindrance during the key moments. He was
His
actually had some decent.
Aphelios.
Yeah, he had some
Yeah.
decent stuff during the week 1 actually when they were losing, but week 2 I thought that like Tristana game was fine, but he just didn't get punished when he suicide jumped in, or not
Yeah.
suicide jump, but aggressive jump. And then his Aphelios just like did not flash. There was like so many little plays. Like I honestly think that if you were to reform this roster, you would unfortunately need to figure out something for tactical. Either like need a sub, or like he needs more development. He was actually quite good in his rookie year, at Worlds relative to like the fact he was a rookie. But I just think that there's been enough cases where like it's no longer like he just can't perform under that pressure,
Yeah.
which is a problem because this is not his rookie year anymore.
Yep.
And that's what I have for. Oh, also Cordia is still pretty good. Honestly, I think the games they won, that 5-man or 4-man rel alts and like very good engages on Rakan. Like I know that he didn't have all good games; he got caught out sometimes too. But like I think he's shown that like he's probably still competitive with his own counterpart on the other team, which is
Yeah.
kind of a funny storyline that we didn't get too far into because like no one really cares about Gen G, even though they won the group. Maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I don't think a lot of people are like super hyped about Gen G. So
Yeah.
I think Liquid, they continue to show that they're very solid. They went 3-3. Like if these guys have 1 month of practice together in the like or 2 months of practice together in like the modern era of this split, and they still did this well. I'm pretty happy for them. I'm obviously making some excuses to some extent, to be honest, but I think that they've done well. They beat the EU first seed as this NA second seed, and they did look good doing it. Obviously, they didn't have a positive win record at the end because of how it worked out. But or did they have a positive win record? Did they lose?
No, they ended up 3-4.
Right. But they
Yeah.
against head to head they went 1-1, so they did have
yeah.
They
a
went
neutral.
1-1 against everybody except for Gen G. They
Gen
went
G.
1-2.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like I'm pretty happy for them. I wish they could get through, but like hey, they showed a lot more to me at least when it mattered than 100 Thieves did,
I
even though they
mean,
had the same record, which makes me happy that
at
they at
least
least
your
tried to
team,
do
at
that.
least your team made it this far. My team hasn't even been in
Yes.
any
Sorry,
discussions for a long time.
what is your team again? I actually haven't heard of it before.
You know what his
Yeah,
I only
team
hear
is?
don't
about
worry
relevant
about
He's
it.
teams.
undefeated at Worlds 2021.
That's
His
right.
team has
Yeah.
never lost at Worlds 2021. You are correct.
Yes.
They would have gone 06.
TSM, come on now, y'all got to make it next year. I'm tired of all these people talking about their teams, and I don't get to
They
do nothing.
so would have gone 06. I'm sorry.
They probably would have. Given that roster that they have, I don't think they would have done that well. But Alistair, do you got any thoughts on Team Liquid?
I don't know what to do about tactical.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
the
if we had to
tactical
get into it, I don't know either, man.
yeah, it was tough. I mean,
You
especially the tiebreaker game.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about. I don't know what reason they thought of to pick, Tristana Rel right now. As good as I think Tristana is, I don't think Tristana's the move into Misfortune Yumi
Yeah,
or
that
just
doesn't
Yumi
make
in
sense.
general.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
give Yumi over. How about that? Let's just not give Yumi over right now.
Yeah, it was just not a good. I don't know. They lost in draft.
They did lose in draft. In the tiebreaker game, I 100% agree. They lost in draft when they gave over Yumi and they picked Jace without any. I don't know. It was a very poor comp.
That game
They
almost
needed some way
felt
to
doomed.
fight the Yumi comp because the Jace was not going to do anything to Yumi. Yumi just heals it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was almost like a ticking time bomb. You kind of knew like it was gonna eventually happen, right? Like Yumi was just gonna end up taking over, and it was gonna be just not fun to watch. So I'm unfortunately upset that they lost in that draft. But let's move to a positive note because as NA, we are going past group stage this year, thank goodness, as Kevin dropped out. But we have C9 making it out, and to everyone's surprise, I think even including C9, they make it out. We have Damwon, that was no surprise, making it 6-0. But the fact that FPX ended up last, not only did they not make it, but they ended up last, that's a big of a shocker. Like, I don't even know what's bigger. Is it a big of a shocker that Cloud9 made it, or that FPX lost and ended up like last? So give me your thoughts on Group A, because that was like the group of death in my opinion.
I definitely
FPX
think
last.
that. Yeah, FPX last was dramatically non-characteristic of the team. Very unfortunate for Doinby because he was touted as the best player coming into Worlds this year by a lot of people. His team was pretty bad. He was pretty mediocre, for being honest. I will say that FPX just had a terrible meta read. They kept playing these wombo combo like roam around comps,
Yeah.
and it felt like they were just way too hung up on Jarvan and way too hung up on like just trying to basically run around and do big AoE team fights. And there were a lot of team fights, and MF was the ADC, but it
Yeah.
felt like MF as the ADC was just there for her super broken ulti, and then everyone's still playing bruisers, everyone's still playing skirmishing sort of comps and champions, but they kept doing these 5v5 wombo comps, and they could never get off the ground. Um, I don't know why Doinby never priored Rise. That really confused me as well. I feel like Rise was open a lot and he just didn't pick it. Same with Aurelia. They're banning Aurelia on blue side. Like, if you want to give a champion to Doinby to just be like, yo, just win us the game, it should have been Rise or Aurelia. You should have just been
Yeah.
first picking it, not cared about the matchups. You're the best mid laner in the group. Should have just not cared at all. Pick LeBlanc too, right? They're giving over LeBlanc to perks and stuff. So, um, pretty disappointing, I think, for FPX just in their overall meta read. That's my take on it. I just also TN is straight Garbo. Like TN is a really bad jungler.
Dang.
I don't know what happened to him, but he even got Lee Sin a couple times, and he looked terrible on it. He's just
Yeah.
missing Qs. So I don't know what's up with that team. I think they're Dunzos, right? I think
Blow it up.
TN is probably Dunzos. I think LWX is probably Dunzos. I don't know about Crisp, maybe not, but it's just Nuguri and Doinby that's
Doing B.
alive on that team, really.
Yeah. True. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot to say about that group, but I think ultimately like it's clear like they were just playing. I don't know what the scrims were telling them, but they were playing a whole different game. They were like drafting Malzahar. They weren't doing a lot.
I know.
It's like Galio is not unusual for that team. They actually have run into
Yeah,
great
they've
success
done it.
in China. But like that when they picked Mouse, I was like, "What are you doing?" And then they were just getting ganked, and Tien just lost his mind in a majority of these games. Honestly, this felt like bad meta read. A lot of teams were being baited by Jarvan. I think that
Yep.
while it's a very, very Chinese pick, like it's just not very good. Like we had a 4-0 and 3 Alfari on Jarvan that just like felt like it was useless after like a certain point.
Well,
Um,
I have an opinion. I have a very strong opinion about Jarvan, and I actually do
okay.
think he's good. But people are playing him like primary engage when he's just
Mm-hmm.
he is a damage. He's a damage threat. He's always like players are way too good at dodging EQs. It's so easy to
Yeah.
dodge EQs when you have a brain and you have boots, like you have brown boots. Um, so
That's
I
true.
honestly think it's like the way you have to play J4 is you only EQ people who are set up, who
Yeah.
are stunned by Leona or stunned by Syndra's stun or
So kind of
TF or
like
something.
Nidalee, right? Where you,
Yeah.
you you shoot the payload only when it's like basically guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Instead of like whatever they're doing, which is like it's not working. He's basically like playing Vi, essentially. It's just more meta Vi. Where like
Yeah.
if you miss, you're just useless, right?
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
hard
So
agreed on that. I also agreed on your read. I think that well, honestly, Naguri had some bad games too, but like I think this is just part of being a top laner on a losing team. Like you're just going to like be punished harder, right? If you don't have a jungler, you're gonna look even worse. Like kind of like how Alfari had a bad split. I will say that I think that Naguri and Doinby should stay. I think Tien had his issues like health wise, like with his wrists and stuff, and like I think
okay.
his mental collapse this time around too. So like who knows if his wrists were flaring up during this tournament, but it doesn't super matter. He should just
Yeah.
take care of himself and take a break at minimum. And then LWX and Chris just like this roster has shown its limit, right? They won Worlds once. They looked really good that time around. Honestly, they won Worlds with Gimgoom playing the way he did. So maybe they just figure with Naguri, there's no way they would lose this time.
Yeah.
But we have to remember this FPX, even though they were super favored, even though they were the super team both times around, they never won a split
That
this
is
year.
true.
Yeah.
They got
Lost the
second both
finals.
times.
Yep.
Both times they collapsed to teams who were significantly worse than them on paper,
Yeah.
according to everyone who had watched up until then, right? So like, I think it's time for a rework. I think Doinby and Naguri still have fight in them. I hope they don't retire. I hope Naguri doesn't leave for NA or something. If he goes back to Korea, I'm happy for him. If
He goes to NA?
like I'm just saying, like the only other place with a pay, if he's only going for a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
He just goes to another Chinese team or NA, right? Because Korea's not going to pay him as much.
I'd happily welcome him.
I think Naguri's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did not show an impressive Worlds, honestly.
No,
I think
not
he
at
showed
all.
a good enough Worlds, but not.
Kennen-
It was not Naguri level.
He played well in Kennen, and I think he wowed enough people. He'll get paid next year.
Yeah. I
He's
mean, and
Naguri too.
the fact that he was getting his butt kicked by Khan, well, I mean Khan's team, it's almost like a redemption story arc because they kind of swap places, and Damwon was the only team that went undefeated, and it's like
Khan
okay,
played very well.
yeah, he did.
So
He's
far.
kind of
Khan
proven
played-
everybody wrong, but
Khan-
yeah,
What a
played
world
very
we
well.
live in. I was
Right?
definitely dumpstering on him last week,
yeah,
me
for
too.
sure.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay, Alistair, do you have any thoughts on FPX?
No, aside from I don't know. I still think the best way to build Jarvan is the way SFM builds Jarvan, and no one did that. They need to
What's
build more
that?
support
Yeah,
items.
you're gonna have to clarify. What is that?
More support items like Knight's
Oh,
Vow.
okay, yeah.
Knight's
I
Vow
think- I
Redemption.
think- Gore Drinker Sterix is fine, but past that, if you're building damage or bruiser items, I think you're trolling. I think if you're not going Knight's Vow, you're going Redemption, something like that. I think you're just doing it wrong.
Yep, and then
That's a good call.
there's also some builds going around where you go Guardian on J4 too, and
Yeah.
you're a full utility, full CDR.
I was early on that train. I was
Yep.
early on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. It's pretty strong because you can just have so many EQs over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting. People like to do damage though. They like Conqueror. I think Conqueror is one of the worst runes on Jarvan. I've tried it a ton. I'm just like, I don't care if I'm going Gorging or Sterix. I still want Electrocute because I feel like Conqueror just
I
takes so
don't
long to
understand.
proc.
Like, how often as a jungle driver are you going to be hitting someone enough to conquer?
It's you
Like,
have
am I
to
missing
land a lot
something?
of autos. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, and he's like all about doing a burst, right? So like it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, not all about, but at least in jungle he's about bursting. So I don't really understand that at all.
Yeah.
Lethal tempo.
Yeah, Lethal Tempo is a classic one too. If anybody's familiar with King Nidhogg,
Really?
he's got all of these things. Yep.
King Nidhogg,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
King Nidhogg is a very famous North American J4 player. He does all these weird stuff.
Okay, well, so I
Let's talk
love,
about.
as much as I love FPX, right? Like I freaking want to talk about Cloud9. Can we
Yeah.
can we get to Cloud9? I mean, we've been pooping on them for a long time, and
Oh
you
yeah.
know, I have a feeling Alistair is still gonna poop on them, but do they deserve any credit? I mean, they still got out, guys. We made it, y'all. Isn't this what we've been wanting as NA fans, making it out of groups? I mean,
Cloud9,
it's
something.
something.
Let's clarify something. Cloud9 didn't make it out. FPX and Rogue didn't make it out.
Okay.
There is a difference here.
Okay. I mean, do you guys feel the same way, Mitchell, Kevin?
I definitely feel like FPX just like was like, woo, we're gonna just
Here you go. Here's a gift, C9.
Mental boom too. Like meta aside and player skill aside,
Yeah.
I think we can all agree like there was definitely just a mental collapse across the board. Like they failed so hard, all the other teams saw the flame and they're like, oh god.
Yeah.
And you just everyone's level just drop off a cliff out in the second week.
Even in week 1 when C9 almost beat FPX, right? And it was the base race where Rise was in the enemy base.
Oh yeah.
Actually, if you look back and watch the VOD, C9 should have won that. All they had to do was TP Fudge in and defend 3v5 as C9. If you TP Fudge into the enemy base, they win. 100%. Like, it took like 3 to 5 seconds for Fudge to die. Him with Divine Thunder procs hitting the enemy Nexus, they would have won that game. Like, 100% C9 would have won that. They just didn't see that play. So, even from week 1, when FBX got dumpstered by Dead One, it was like... Yeah, they're giving over free wins to every team, pretty much, except C9 that one game. But yeah.
Okay.
So
are we not? I mean, is there anything? Okay, so let me just phrase it this way: is there any positive notes that we have? Because it is kind of sad that we have a team that is making it, but there's not anything good that we could say. Like, yes, they kind of got given a gift on a golden platter, but I mean, is there anything you could say about Perks? Did he play okay? Like, was there any? I mean, Blabber, I don't know. Like, Kevin, what are you thinking? Right? Like, anything at all? Is there? I'm just trying to help my boys out. You know, fellow NA team. Anything good that we could say?
I mean,
don't get me wrong. I'm happy for them. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy they made it out. They should.
Okay.
I'm happy. I'll do some positive stuff. Let's do some positive stuff. Okay, the Perks $11 million.
Podcast guys, we're not here. That's
what I'm saying. We're like an LCS podcast too, and we're like, yeah, we made it. Boom.
I
they suck. Okay.
You already expect me to be doom and gloom. I haven't said anything.
Okay, well, go. Please give us some positive notes here, Kevin.
I mean, here's what I'm gonna say. Like, when it comes to Worlds, like, let's be objective here. Like, there's a reason why there's so many historical collapses, or not collapses. Like, teams just don't perform, right? Like, season 4 or season 3 .A and the Samsung org, right? Stuff like that just happens. And it's not because they just got worse, right? Sometimes your ability to be a good player literally scales with like your clutchness, your ability to just like show up and not be under pressure and feel like the world's gonna end. And I think C9's actually done that pretty well historically as an organization. I think amongst the organizations that go to Worlds, I think it's not a coincidence that they make it out of groups, right? It's partially just because like they are willing to adapt and willing to like not be stupid with like things they can control, right? Which is draft and like I think that like they generally have like a spiritual leader that usually gets them through like high in the early years, like someone who can like be good when they need them to be good, right? We had, I wouldn't say like just sneaky, there was like a mix of sneaky Jensen who are like decent at Worlds, much better than their counterparts on like other NA reps, right? Yeah. So yes, was the ball dropped? Yes. But are we pretty good at picking up the ball? Also yes, I mean, America's the only region that's like even relevant in basketball as far as last I checked, so yeah. I'm okay with that. I also think that on a very positive note, we might have gotten out on like basically a technicality, but we are like the most primed and ready to like get to semifinals or maybe finals.
Yeah,
like our side of the bracket. I don't know if you guys are excited. I saw that group chat. Like, this is the best. Like, why be a first seed when you can just be a second seed in this group? Like this side of the bracket. Are you serious? And like I'm saying all of this while still considering LPL could recover in best of 5, by the way. We'll get into that later, but like this is the best chance NA has ever had to make finals. And we're not like memeing, right? We actually could make finals.
Yep.
Do you
I
think
think that's fair.
do you think any other team, if it was not C9 in this group, if it was Team Liquid with these same circumstances, if it was 100 Thieves in these same circumstances that got out, would you feel more confident and maybe have a little more hope, hopium if it was a different team other than C9 going out of groups?
Actually, no, I don't think so. I do think
Okay.
that something I wanted to touch on when we started to rear it in a more positive direction was that we very clearly saw Perks is still an incredibly clutch player.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Perks is terrible. He's bad. Oh my god, he's so bad. But he's also really good sometimes, and he's
Yeah.
really, really clutch, and he just does
There's
some
so much
magic.
science behind that statement.
I
I'm
know,
like,
right?
not even needing.
know. God, his
Wish we
LeBlanc
could
was
quote you on that.
so hit or miss. Like,
I
especially in the
know.
tiebreaker game, he is straight running it down to just land a single Q on somebody.
Yeah.
And then other times, he's one-shotting people, and he's jumping around, he's flashing abilities, and he's distracting everybody. Um, Perks is hilarious. Like, the best $11 million we've ever spent in North America. He inted all year long just to still make it to out of groups anyways.
He's still
He
like,
still did it.
so no matter what you say about Perks, technically
was
it
worth
paid
it.
off. It
Yes.
paid off. They made it to worlds past groups. What in the
Yep.
world?
We've been copium this for a while, right? We're like, if he
Yeah.
makes it to worlds, he's worth. If he makes it out of play-ins and looks good, he's worth. And then like, he's just good.
He's-
Like, and it's not like as a player individually, mechanically,
Yeah.
like he's objectively, like in a lot of places. In the same series on that LeBlanc game, he went from the worst player in all of NA, even like not just of the people at Worlds, just in general, to the
Yeah.
best player.
Yeah.
In the same game. Like he was like doing like all these great bursts and pops, and then he also just like, hitting W and randomly giving up a shot.
God, he snapped back.
In the same game, right? But I think like what's valuable about him, and like regardless of how quarters go, like we could get 3-0 stomped. I don't care. I think what we've learned about his value is like he probably brings like some kind of like anchor or stability to a
It's
team.
the
Like maybe
energy,
just like
man. It's the vibe.
it's the leadership. It's literally the vibes. Like you can't
Yes.
quantify it, but like it has to be the vibes, right? Because like what is he doing on the map? He's not. There's no way it's the map play.
It's,
Yeah.
You see his face cam? He's always laughing. He's always smiling. He's always joking around. He's
Yep.
in draft. You look at Vulcan. You look
Yeah.
at Sven. You look at Fudge. And he's like, ha ha! I
He's
got my
always
LeBlanc.
laughing.
I'm gonna mess some stuff up. He's ready
Yeah,
to play. He's
exactly.
ready to have fun. And when you think of it farther from perspective, right? This guy, his entire life, has been pooping on the Rogue roster. Like, he
Yeah.
has zero mental block against Rogue.
It's
He
true.
knows he can hit a million times into Rogue and he'll still win the
Still
game.
beat him. Yeah.
Because he's Perks. He was
Yeah.
on G2. He's so used to demolishing Rogue. And I really think
Yeah.
it gave him a mental edge. You saw Rogue do some real banana stuff just to try to kill Perks. And,
Yeah.
like, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But, like,
He's in
I
their
really feel
heads.
like he was in their heads.
Living
Yeah.
in their heads
100%.
rent free, boys.
Yes, definitely. I feel like I could tell in some of those Rogue games where it's like Rogue does not normally play like this unless it's Perks, unless it's like
Yeah.
a G2 play a member or something. They just have a mental
Yeah.
block. So that's another like Perks.
Yeah, I mean, I will
specialty
say,
there.
it's, but after a certain amount of time, you can't just say it's some kind of coincidence. Seeing
No,
Perks.
it's not.
It's not
Here.
a coincidence. You,
Yeah.
you see it every
Yeah,
game.
every
Like,
game. And the thing is like I definitely agree with you, Kevin, that there is something besides what we see on the map on the Rift that he's bringing to the team. It's got to be either veteran leadership, being able to bring out the best in people. I mean, that does play a factor. I mean, Alistair, you're probably have the most experience being on like team settings. Like, how much does the environment or whatever affect your mentality when you're playing as an individual and as a team? Does that affect you guys much?
The environment's the most important thing, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Synergy comes later, but like if you're around people you can't get along with, it
Mhm.
just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've been on. I was on at a time. I was on a team where we had one person who like pulled the team down, just made us all miserable, and then we eventually replaced them, and our entire team just started playing better.
Very interesting.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very common. I can add on to that because I also played collegiate for a bit.
Mhm.
My team had at any given time like 2 or 3 challenger players sometimes, and we would lose teams of all like D3s and D2s or D4s
wow.
and stuff like that. And this is when D5 existed. So
Yeah.
it just like it's not it's not like easy to quantify, so like that's why there's no like documentation of this, like, but you're like at the pro level, and we've noted this at Worlds. Actually, we've noted this at Worlds very specifically. These guys are all like mechanically like not that far apart. Even like
Yeah,
the
no.
greatest players and the worst player, like they won't int their butts off if they're given the right support, right?
Yeah.
The mentality, consistency, using your brain, like these are things that are hard to teach, uh, especially for C9 junglers. So like
Woo! Had to throw that in there,
as a
huh?
result,
That's
like
cool.
you could see it. Like for all of like his hands might be like falling off, like not like in terms of like physically, but like in terms of mechanics wise.
Yeah.
Like Perks is like still like he can come back in the game just because he entered the early game and died first blood. Like if I see certain players die first blood, I'm like, oh, it's over. Like
Right.
this guy's not coming back. This game's like finished, right?
Yeah.
But with him, it's like I have to give him credit. I'm like, well, they could still win this game.
Yeah.
The only other NA team that did that this Worlds, I think, was Liquid. Actually, did come back from a pretty bad deficit against
Yeah.
Gen G. It was like 5 or 6K against a Korean team, which is like unheard of to come back from. But Gen G is also an unheard of boring team
Yeah.
who doesn't know how to
Genji
be
is so
proactive.
bad. We should have beat
Well,
They're
them.
so bad.
I want to say
I'm so mad they got out. I'm so mad that they got out. Like I was fine with anyone else but Gen G. But anyways,
Yeah,
Not
let
going- that
me
game's
just
already
say
over.
let me just say that I think that I did notice that what you're saying, like, and it could be the meta, it could be whatever because you get one shot, but I did find that usually in the past, it whenever one of the Asian teams, LPL or LCK, are down, you never really felt like you're out of the woods because they always knew how to stay in the game, stay relevant, and I felt like that gap has kind of evened out a little bit because even NA teams, even LEC teams, everyone seemed to be able to find a way to stay in the games, and not just in Group D, but in other groups and a lot of the games that I saw, I felt like whereas before I'd have to just fast forward till almost the end of the game because you already knew it was going to be over. This one I felt like there was a little more back and forth going on just because teams felt like they knew how to stay in it. And I just want to say that before moving on because we do got to get predictions. But before that, there's so much to talk about here. And so I'm just going to open it up to anything else you guys might have to say. But I want to leave you with these kind of points to marinate on and you can add on or talk about them. One, in all four groups, Korean teams made it first. So
Yep.
LCK back on top, it seems like. Even Gen G.
3 groups.
I'm sorry, RNG, yes, RNG. But they did make it all in all four groups.
Yeah.
Yes,
HLE
they all made
second.
it out.
So thank you for that correction. But also the other storyline I want to talk about is Faker Man first in his group. Okay,
Oh,
T1
you're right.
first in their group over EDG, who everyone thought that they were going to be first. So those are just some storylines, and then I'll leave it up to you. Obviously, Damwon. I mean, it's kind of hard not to talk about the champs, and also they're freaking on fire right now. So anything that you want to talk about before we go on to predictions, it's in your hands. But those are just some kind of wave tops I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah. Well, I honestly wasn't done with C9. I wanted to talk about Blabber a little bit. Just to sort of bring
Okay.
up in week 1. He was straight inting. He was eating into red buffs on Zinjiao, sacrificing his Yumi to the gods, to the Rift Scuttle gods. He was just face checking bushes, dying level 1 on Kiana. Those were fun times. And then week 2, he honestly played really insanely well. I thought his week 2 on Blabber was like some of the best we've ever seen him play. Internationally, especially. Usually he chokes internationally. He played pretty freaking well. I do think that has to do with like an environment thing. I feel like Perks was just like, I give you my faith. Just go in and Ham will follow up or something. Because the man was crazy good week 2, and definitely can't be understated how well Blabber played week 2. Um, Another
I
thing,
agree, by the way.
yeah, it's pretty impressive how you can turn around like that. We make fun of Blabber a lot, Rift Scuttle memes, stuff like that. He's a very
Yes.
entertaining player for that reason. Um, I'll also say, just like as an overall storyline, um, I think it's pretty crazy that pretty much like 70 to 80% of people predicted FPX to win this tournament, and they're just not even in it anymore. And now it's
Yeah.
like, is it EDG? Is it Danwon? Do we have to talk about T1 now, right? As no one
Mm.
really thought they were going to be in it, but so many LPL teams didn't make it out. And you know what? Dan1 went 6-0. They almost lost like 3 of those games though. They
Mhm.
almost lost like so many of those games to C9 and to Rogue. Like, so they are very, very beatable. I don't think it's like clear cut that there's Dan1 up here and everybody else, or there's EDG up here or T1 up here and everybody else. I think it's very close. I'm not saying that that's because everybody else got better. I do think Dan1 got a lot worse, actually. You can kind of just tell in their macro. They don't close out games very cleanly at all. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a very close tournament. I think it's anybody's bet who could win.
And it makes it exciting,
Yeah.
and probably the
I'm really
odds
glad
very
you
hard
mentioned
too.
those points because I agree.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I agree. So I agree. I glad you mentioned it. What I was gonna say is like I think that we mentioned this when we were all coping. I mean, I think I said like 60% NA team gets out, which they did. I didn't think it would get out this way, but I did say it. What I wanted to mention was I think that unironically, and this might be still too hot of a take, but I think unironically the gap did close a bit. In the sense that this is a whatchamacallit. This is an anecdote from me watching LPL for so long. Like teams will look worse when they're being put under pressure. When they're just like being forced to like make mistakes and being forced to like play their play off their game sometimes. And I unironically think maybe except for EU, I think the gap closed everywhere in terms of the major regions. Like even Japan, like when 06, but they were like not a pushover team. Like they were
Mhm.
like making people sweat.
Yeah.
I think that NA almost went even, guys. Which okay, again, not shouldn't be a big deal, but like this
No,
is
half of our
very
players
unusual
are
for us.
European. Sorry, something in my throat.
Yeah, but the European teams didn't go even, so maybe the NA plus Europe is the right mix, not just Europe. Diversity's
It's
good.
almost like NA poaches half of the really good European players.
It,
Hey.
it,
That's
yeah,
what we're
Hell
good
yeah.
at.
hey, if you guys would value your
Well,
people
baby.
more in
Yeah.
EU and pay them, then there wouldn't be a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
NA just treats humans better. I'm just kidding. I'm not going that far. The point is, I think the gap did close. NA almost went even in every group, other than like, and the group we didn't go even, and we got out.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Like, guys, we should be rejoicing. Like, our region is like kind of close to being pretty competitive if this keeps up. And like this is a result of all the top teams. Like there being so many more top teams, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just TSM, TL, and C9. It was like a lot of other competitors making it close. So I'm actually like excited for the future. We were very close to a world where maybe not 100T because that group was like kind of pretty terribly hard. But like Liquid was very close, and there are universes, probably like 3 out of 10 universes Liquid gets up. I think that's like
think it's.
reasonable to say.
I think they banned
Maybe
Yumi in that
more.
tiebreaker, and they probably
Yeah,
get
they
out.
get out. Yep.
I think it's one button. Ban Yumi.
Okay, I didn't want to sound like a salty TL fan, but yeah, I agree.
Their odds in that game go from like 10% to like maybe 50 or more percent of winning that game if they ban Yumi. But whatever.
I wish I didn't agree so much with that statement.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm overall I'm happy with the outcome of Worlds. I know I'm the one who's sitting there trash talking Cloud9. I still agree with everything I said, but don't get me wrong, I'm happy they made it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm definitely happy that they certainly stepped up their play, especially Blabber, like you guys mentioned. It's just unfortunate they cursed themselves by getting hype on Twitter because we all know what happened last time when Perk said something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that didn't even come to mind, but now that you mention it, dang.
He does
think
it
we should
every
just
time.
This
I
is a
know.
very small tangent because this was drama that I don't want to get into too deeply, but I think you should just ban socials during Worlds for your players. Like, let the PR org handle it.
That's
Your
true.
players don't
It
Need to
makes it
focus.
so
all being on
spicy,
Twitter.
though.
I
It's
know.
so
It is.
entertaining. It's so
It was so
entertaining.
entertaining. That's true. That's why they
Yes.
won't ban it because like it's just good
Yes.
for everyone involved other than the player's performance. But like, guys, the Fnatic collapse, like, it was
Oh,
so
God.
painful to watch. Like, we don't know what
Yeah.
happened. I'm not gonna get into it because there could be like some very serious topics there. But like, they collapsed, and it was like it looked like high school in terms of like the way it was being handled publicly. That's
Mhm.
not good, guys.
That is some good stuff right there. I eat that stuff for breakfast. I'm
Live
on my
for it.
phone while I'm at work, and I'm like, yes, more.
Give us all the
Inject
drama.
this straight into my veins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so funny.
Anyways, that's my two pieces. I think NA. I told you guys NA was going to be better this year, and we were objectively better, not just like on eye test. Like we were doing better on paper, and maybe that's why Korea looked weak, or China for sure. But even
China
Korea
looked
to
weak.
an extent looked weaker, right? China looked weaker for sure. Like I mean, we're not
I
gonna
mean,
like mince words,
yeah.
but like Korea was still pressured. Like Genji lost
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
to NA, and probably could have lost to NA again if we could pick and ban.
Yeah. And then EU, honestly, even though they definitely did the worst out of the major regions, their record was worse. Like talking about Fnatic, right? Just to give some context, Upset was not able to play to personal reasons, and they had to sub in Bean. And basically, Nemesis, former Fnatic player, tweeted out that basically it was all a lie. Fnatic was lying. We don't know what's going on. If it was like they're secretly trying to get Reckless, that was the rumor, right? They're kicking Upset,
Oh,
or Upset left early because Fnatic tried to get Reckless early,
oh,
and that was the rumor. It's not confirmed by any means because Upset said himself, "Yeah, I do have personal family issues. Like,
yeah.
I really wish I could be here, but I can't." So we don't know what's going on there, but it totally ruined the team dynamic. Bwipo said in an interview that basically he let it get really personal to him. He sees himself as a bit of a leader of the team, and when he's not in the game mentally, the rest of the team collapsed. You could kind of see in their gameplay where they didn't have a game plan. They fight, they go in, and they skirmish, and they hope they win. Like you should have seen Niski. He was racking up 10 plus deaths a game,
Mm,
just running in there. So it's unfortunate for a team like Fnatic that happened when they were definitely someone who you could maybe favor to get out of their group.
yeah.
Hanwha Life was not looking very strong at all, guys, even with
Mm-mm.
Chovy. So kind of unfortunate little storyline for that team. But yeah, for Korean teams, I think there was an interview that Faker made at the beginning of Worlds where you said Korea was going to be the strongest
Yeah.
region this year,
Of
and
course he
all
called
four
it.
teams made it out.
The
So,
goat.
Query is not wrong.
yep.
They
Hmm.
had their spiritual leader Faker at Worlds. I mean,
Yeah. He gave a Korea whole. He gave all of Korea a buff, the Faker buff.
dude, if Faker was leading the charge, I'd feel like a lot more
I
safe
I
than
would get
if
a
Chovy was leading the charge.
yeah,
I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
that right now.
or
Yeah.
Chovy
BDG.
is
Yeah,
not very good. He's
Hmm.
very good at one thing,
he's an incredible later. Yes, he's an incredible later.
incredible. But we saw the biggest vices in a player since like early Uzi, where he was like very good at one thing, which
Yeah.
is like CS leads, right?
Yeah.
But at an AD carry that matters. On TF that doesn't.
Yeah.
Very
I'll
true.
leave that there.
I also want to talk about kind of just like the fact that it felt like Korea also pioneered the meta. Definitely, Denmon started off with the Yumi first pick, very first game at Worlds,
Hmm.
and every Korean team, if Yumi was up, they were taking it, and every North American team, if Yumi was taking it, even if they didn't know how to use it, 100 Thieves, they didn't know how to use Yumi.
Nah.
It felt like there was pockets of meta where basically Korea scrimmed NA and they figured out Yumi was OP, and I guess NA scrimmed China, and they didn't care about Yumi until other people started doing it. It was a
Hmm.
very interesting little world to see how the meta developed. So I can't wait from a year or two from now to hear all these stories from players talking about scrims from this world, because
Yeah.
definitely something happened where China just missed the boat. Europe just
Yeah.
missed the boat. They did miss the meta completely.
And they
So
took one for LCK. They
yep.
just they into Yumi so hard that LPL was like, yeah, I don't think this is a good pick, guys, and NA
Yeah.
never wins with it because they understand they were getting smacked, right? If you just piece together the little morsels you're getting, the
Yeah.
story comes together, and it looks like NA won Worlds for LCK.
Yeah, because
Oh, we won Worlds.
yeah, and
Yes, we did it.
just thinking about scrims though, like these things happen where it's like we don't know, right? But like I wouldn't be surprised if Korea had some crazy like just strategy as a whole region, and we're like we're just not going to scrim China. We're going to give China really crappy
Yeah.
scrims or something, or we're
Hmm.
not going to show our drafts because that's the only region they're afraid of losing to. And Danwon is like, I think I can beat all the other Korean teams. I just need to get rid of the Chinese teams, right?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. These like the way the meta shook out and what I've been hearing from scrims here and there. I feel like something happened that was interesting this this year. So yeah, another overarching storyline there.
So many like good. I think that's so something that's so good this world. See, there's so many like narratives and so many storylines that have been going on that it's almost not impossible to track, but it's just so much, like it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like in every single group, there's like something going on, and then overall, you look at Korea again being a powerhouse and coming in here. So, I mean, I think all of it's great. I'm proud of all of our teams, even Hundred Thieves, who we didn't talk about much, but you know what? Hey, look, they got 3-3. I mean, I
Yeah, they
wasn't.
did.
So honestly, I
First
know.
team doesn't get any words in.
But
Oh
look,
no.
for me personally, I didn't expect much from Hundred Thieves. I know a lot of people were expecting a lot, but honestly, I thought that team, they're kind of inexperienced. I mean, in FBI and Huhi, and I just
FBI
felt like
played
they're
well.
not ready. Yeah, FBI played well though. That's the
Yeah, played
thing.
well. But
So
you could tell their players were not ready for Worlds.
no,
Closer was our star. He was very invisible. The only team
hmm
he looked kind of alive was when they were beating up on the wildcard team.
yeah,
Otherwise, like Closer was completely invisible. Abadage was very bad. He
yeah,
played very poorly, which is fine. It's his first Worlds. He's really
yeah,
young, right? First championship. This is just an incredibly inexperienced roster. I think someday, if Hundred Thieves decides that they want to do more than just win NA and they want to succeed
yeah.
internationally, they got to get rid of Someday.
Nuggery.
Unfortunately,
Just
yeah,
kidding.
I could get Nuggery, but some days playing like Aatrox and Renekton, and it's
Yeah,
just like these are like 2018, 2019 champs. Like you
yeah.
got to find something new.
Come on,
Um,
man.
yeah, I,
Get
I
with the
I was
times.
I was pretty disappointed with the veterans that are on the team in
Yeah.
Someday. But Hundred Thieves, I mean, their bot lane played well, I thought, and
And
they
they have been playing well too.
they have been
That's
playing well.
for
So
sure been the most consistent anchor of this team, and I think that's good because you can build around an anchor. If you
yeah,
have something consistent, then you can build from there. So yeah, definitely not expecting much,
I,
but
I think if Hundred Thieves run this team back and maybe get a new top laner, maybe like throw Impact up there, they could do well internationally.
yeah, interesting.
They just needed that closer, and Abadagi for sure needed that like go to Worlds, get your crap stomped in, get wrecked by EDG and T1,
Yeah,
and then kind of come back. So
yeah,
I hope they come back.
yeah.
These players.
It's like and the thing is I feel like there's a lot of room for growth, right? There's a high
Yeah.
ceiling here that they have a lot of potential for. So I'm proud of them, but all our teams, this is a year where as an NA fan, as an LCS fan, like finally, like I feel like this is a good year for us, honestly, and I hope we can build from here as far as infrastructure, where we always have the yearly discussion on how can NA get better, which we'll do when Worlds is over at some point. But I think from what we're seeing now, something is working. Some cards had to actually, kind of roll in our favor too. But hey, whatever, we're doing good, and I'm happy about it. Are we ready to predict games for quarterfinals? You
Yeah,
I
guys,
I'm
am
ready.
ready to
okay?
make a big prediction at the very beginning. I'm just
Oh,
gonna
here we
shake
go.
things up
Here we go.
right now.
Here
T1
we
is winning
go.
Worlds. I'm saying it right now.
You know
I
what? Not only do I like it, I love it.
I love yes. Faker is back on top. I think Danwon Gaming is going to be their toughest opponent,
Yeah.
and I do think you should favor Danwon if you're a betting person. But I think T1 is seriously ramping up, and Faker's just going to go
I'm
crazy there.
hyped, man.
I think EDG is overrated, RNG overrated. I do think it's the two Korean teams, T1 and Danwon, that we should be looking at to win
And
the Worlds.
and I think that the further Faker goes in, like if they make it to semis, I think he ramps up even more.
Yep.
Because now his this is veteran stat. This is his world. Like he's there, like nobody has as much experience this far as him, and I think
Yep.
that will be the time where he pulls that clutch factor out as veteran as he is. So I like that storyline. I actually like T1, and I'm hoping that's what happens. Anybody else got bold, big, just overall? Mitchell kind of just threw that. I was like, woo, okay, I like it. I love it. Anybody else agree or disagree with that? Do y'all still think, who do you guys think might take it all?
I think we're gonna get RNG Damwon in finals.
RNG Damwon, okay.
Okay.
Alistair, that's interesting. Okay. About you, Kevin?
That was the finals I was hoping for as well, other than obviously NA being in the finals. I think that's the
Of
most
course.
likely.
Yeah.
EDG does tend to beat their own region's teams, unfortunately, and then not
Yes,
do
they
well.
do.
Mhm.
Every time it happens, no matter how powerful they are as a team. So I hope EDG doesn't make it, even though they are a strong team. I just don't think they have the clutch factor still.
Yeah.
So I think RNG Dama makes the most sense. It's also a rematch of MSI, which would be the first time this has ever happened, because
Oh,
MSI
wow.
teams usually collapse after they win, strangely. That's my prediction for that. Are we going down the line, or is it just like any bold predictions first? Because
Yeah,
mine's
just
not
bold.
It's just
Just
RNG versus Taiwan in the finals.
yeah, that's pretty much it. But since all of us gave it now we can go down the line and just talk about the matchups. So on one side, we have RNG, EDG, and Genji and C9. Let's start with RNG versus EDG. Two Chinese teams. You just mentioned, Kevin, that EDG typically does well against their own teams. So why don't we start with that? Give your predictions. Go ahead, Mitchell. You can start.
Yeah. I'm not very excited about RNG. I felt like they gave a lot of very easy wins away in groups. Maybe they're just messing around, but they did lose to Fnatic and PSG Talon, and Hanwha Life, right? Like
Mm,
LPL second week was very disappointing to me, in general. But I felt like RNG I just don't really have faith in their mid laner, Crying, right?
mm-hmm.
That guy is really, really, really bad. Might be one of the worst mid laners in the tournament.
Mm,
Also, I just don't have a lot of faith in RNG's jungler either. He's okay. I'm gonna go with EDG. I mean, EDG also didn't do great week 2, but I did feel like their competition in T1 was harder, and I felt like I think EDG is going to beat RNG. It's actually really hard to tell because they both kind of looked bad in week 2.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's
So
true.
this is just me going with EDG. I'm gonna go with the 3-1. I'm gonna go
3-1.
3-1
Okay,
EDG.
3-1
Yeah.
EDG. All right, Kevin.
I think Mitchell's right in that like EG just had a harder group. They had a harder group. They played 1-1 with T1. They actually lost their tiebreaker chance because of NA.
Yep.
Let's go NA.
Yeah.
It's the one thing I think has contributed to this tournament, actually.
Yep.
I will say that if you think about objectively, EDG should make it. I'm voting for RNG 3-2. I want
3-2.
RNG to make it
Okay.
because like they have such a storied history. This is the one Chinese team
Yeah.
that like if they win, you don't say like, "Hey, Korea won Worlds again," which for better or for worse, like that is just something will always be in mind when you think of the IG and FPX teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to see like an RNG team that was all Chinese or like Chinese speaking team actually win. And also this team's made finals twice, like semis and quarters multiple times. Like they are the best Chinese org in terms of history. They're
Mhm.
like unfortunately, for better or for worse, they're like the TSM of China.
Oh God. They
Well,
are.
now you're just
Right,
doing
but
it.
I would like to see that history come to fruition even without Uzi playing. I think that like spiritually that team needs that win on their shoulders. I don't necessarily think they're the favorites for anything, unfortunately, but that's just my dream. Like I hope that they get there. Otherwise, my other dream is C9, but I'm not that crazy. So
Okay.
yeah, RNG.
Okay.
3-2. Unfortunately, it's going to be very close, even if they're doing well.
Okay. Alistair.
I'm gonna go 3-1 RNG.
Okay.
Though I don't have analysis over the games and over RNG like Kevin does. I want RNG to win because I think the skins will look cool.
Hey
true.
man,
Gold is
that's
pretty nice. We have
that's
so many
valid.
blue teams win the worlds over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Really what it
EDG is
comes
just
down
black
to
and
for
white.
Worlds for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
always
which is like
comes down
IG.
to it.
So IG skins were sick, but we've already got to
They're just black and white. Yeah. No, RNG skins would be dope.
If
That'd be
NA
cool.
is not gonna win, I just want the coolest looking skins for a new
heck
team.
yeah.
So for me, that's
Exactly.
RNG.
I like that.
Honestly,
Practical.
I will say I'm down for more Damwon skins. Those skins are great.
Heck
Yeah.
Those
yeah.
skins were great. I
Those are
will
nice.
give. I just don't like teams winning twice in a row because then it's like, oh man, here we go
Unless it's
again.
Faker. Unless it's Faker. I'm
Unless
okay
it's
with
Faker.
Unless it's
Faker's
Faker.
hype.
Faker's the third most okay. It's RNG, C9 tied because obviously C9 won't win, but like if they did, I would be the most happy.
Yeah.
And then it's T1 because I think Faker deserves to
Okay.
have a swan song. I don't think he's like even retiring, but like he deserves people to put respect on his name because
Heck
there are
yeah.
like actually unironically people who don't know much about him.
It's
know.
like
Like-
we're in a new age and Faker's back and he's like, you guys forget about me.
I know.
I'm not a
I
dinosaur.
got something. If Faker wins Worlds, the next champion is named after him.
Heck yes. Because he is a legend.
That's such a good name.
He is a
by the way.
freaking
Oh
legend.
my God.
Faker-
Faker.
What if he had a mix of skills from his best champions like
Oh my
Zed,
God.
Rise,
Rise.
LeBlanc?
characters. You might as well do it. Tribute.
And his name is Faker. Like he literally fakes you out. Like
That would be
'cause-
so sick.
It'd be the
They would
most
make
OP
headlines too.
Most
Okay.
OP piece
if
of crap
that
ever.
happens, we're suing Riot because they got the idea right here from this
Wait,
podcast right now.
Let me add one more step.
Okay.
The next Rise rework changes him to Faker.
Oh
Just his face.
my.
That's his legacy. He's won worlds so many times being the Rise player. And
That would be
I
so
wanna add
good.
one more thing though. If the winning team picks Yumi as their world skin, instead of adding a skin, they just
There's
remove
no
the
way.
camp from the game.
Yeah, that's it. Done.
There's literally no way. It is a widely known like a sentiment that most pros
No, someone's gonna do it. Someone's gonna
Like,
meme
it's
and
the
be
way.
like, "I'm gonna pick Yumi as my world."
Yeah.
When we picked
Barrel might as well. The way he plays sometimes, he's no different. It's
Pick a
always mean
skin that you don't
he
even
gets an
see.
impact while playing Yumi and then just playing Yumi with his feet. Like
Anyway,
Yeah.
we should probably continue with predictions.
Yeah,
Where are you
yeah,
at,
we were
Luke?
in we were in daydream land. I'm going to EDG 3-2. I think again they do well again. I actually want RNG to win. Because I
so
think
you're
just
my vote. You just don't have faith.
yeah, I don't have faith. You have more faith than I do. So I'm going 3-2 EDG. All right, let's go to Gen G and C9. Come on now. Hopium. Hopium.
I'm gonna start us off on
All
a
right.
goal beat, guys.
Dang it,
It's gonna
man.
be Gen G 2-3. C9's
Oh,
going 3-2, baby.
my man. He
Winning.
did it. He did it.
I think Gen G is a pretty bad team. I'm not gonna lie. I think that they go off of their laning and mechanics, and then you hit 20 minutes, they could be so far ahead. They just don't know how to close a game out.
Yes.
They really don't. C9. I'm not saying they're any better, but they will fight you. They will sit in bushes. They will flash on your ass, and they will
Yep.
get kills. And they will come back in the game. They will get shutdowns. The only person on Gen G that I'm actually impressed with is BDD. Everybody else is can be down for the count. Ruler has been pretty disappointing this tournament so far. I feel like he has not contributed anything at all. To be fair, he's playing Misfortune half the time, so you know.
Yeah.
But it's not like he's getting these crazy ultimates. It's not like he's getting these crazy CS leads in lane. So I think they can do it. Also, Perks does have a history of
Heck
beating
yeah.
up on Gen G, for sure. On G2, they beat Gen G pretty frequently. They are not afraid of that team. Well, Perks isn't. The rest of North American teams definitely are. But I think C9 can actually beat them. They're both yeah, they're both kind of just random, very random teams. So I think C9 and Perks can pull it out.
Okay.
yeah.
C9 will avenge their
Yes,
Team
sir.
Liquid brothers.
They can.
Take it back
Yeah,
for NA.
Also,
I
yeah,
don't necessarily
C9's way
think
better actually.
C9's a better team than Liquid, but I do think that C9 probably has a good matchup here. There's that history. Like, Gen G is the only Korean team to never make it out of groups, I think.
You mean
it was
quarters?
Quarters, yeah.
there was
Gen
the one
G
year they got denied, right?
No,
Or am I thinking
Genji
something? No.
was the Genji got
0-6.
fourth. Yeah, they got
there
fourth.
was
that
one year they got fourth.
Yeah.
And then, like, this org, like, they commit atrocities on the Rift, guys. TL got a Soul Dragon down 6k gold. How is that possible? I mean, it was Clown Soul, to be fair. But, like, how is that possible? When I saw Core JJ's recon with Clown Soul running at Mach 2, I was like, how did we get to this point? How can a team give up this many objectives while being the winning team?
Yeah.
I think that this is actually, like, this is probably a 3-1 for C9. I think that...
3-1, okay.
Wow.
This is kind of like what NA did, where they, died so that LPL could lose. I think that TL died so that C9 could learn how to draft against them. They basically played essentially like 3 games against 3 games against Gen G. And so like the data's there, you can see what they're doing, what their issues are. They're so glaring that like with C9's staff and just like literally I'm pretty sure every NA org was just watching today if they weren't prepping, right? So like I think that it shouldn't be too bad. I think that Gen G and HLE are like 2 Korean teams that like uncharacteristically just like commit atrocities on the Rift all the time, and it's awful to watch.
Yeah.
Like you just see some of the most egregious stuff. Still they made it through, and some of them are first place. So like I'm not like saying they're bad teams, but they are teams that have weaknesses. So this is the best first seed possible for NA, and I think this is where that's not the first time we made it to semis. The last time we made it to semis, we 3-0'd.
was
Najin White
with
Shield?
Rio. No,
Africa.
No,
Africa.
Africa Freaks. Africa
In
Freaks.
2018,
Freaks.
it was also C9. That was the year
Yeah.
Genji went fourth. We were also in the group of death, where the former world champions went fourth place and just completely
Yeah.
pooped the bed.
Well, it was a
Similar
different
line.
org, and then they also changed some players. But yes, it was still mostly still had like Ruler and some other core players. So
Ruler, Core JJ, it had Crown
did
still.
it have core at that point?
Yeah,
It
it did. It did. That
Oh, it
Genji
did, and then he
roster.
came over, and then
I
we
think
took
that-
him.
Yeah, we took him. I think that Genji roster was the exact same 5 players that won Worlds the year before. I'm pretty sure. But they subbed
It
out their
might have
top
been.
laner. No, I don't remember who their top laner was, but yeah, I think it was the same 5 players. Yeah. So.
But yeah,
FP
anyways, we're gonna
Yeah.
beat Genji. I don't even know if it'll be that close. It could be a close 3-1, but I
little bit close.
think the data's all there. I think that they are in the top 8. They might be the worst team at taking objectives.
If they
with,
if they put in
control.
Bertle or whatever, if they put in Bertle, it's a
Yeah.
3-0.
What was
That's
that?
a 3-0.
I don't know what that
It's
was.
the group in history, or at least in terms of results. And they put Girdle or Bertle or Mario in. Like, I don't know what his name was, but
Yeah.
like Yoshi, like they just put him in. They're like, good luck, and he was like. To be fair, I think he did win like 2 games because Rascal lost game 1. They subbed him out, and then
He
Girdle
beat
won
Team
2
Liquid
games.
being like 0-9 or something.
Yeah.
He won. He's the guy who types in all better top wins. So yeah, I don't think they'll do in a best of 5, but I really want C9 to win here. I don't
right.
think Genji will be exciting to watch, even if they do make it.
Okay, Alistair, what do you got?
I want to be wrong, but 3-1 Genji.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to be wrong, but
Yeah, it's
I
fair.
I think there's a little bit
I mean,
of
we can't
bias.
fight that hard, but
Yeah.
like.
I mean, it's fair. They're the Korean team. We're the.
You're
we're
kind
the
of like
North American
the I don't know, like the one that's bringing our expectations back to normal. Like we're all like C9 is like, we want them to go far, but I think, if Genji did win, I don't think any of us would be like super surprised.
No one would be surprised. No.
I
But-
would tune out early and be at work and be like.
Exactly.
whatever.
But with that said,
I'll be like, all right.
Back to the spreadsheets.
but
Yep.
with that said, I'm going C9 3-2 because they're just gonna make it. And look, man, I just again, I'm riding this perks train now, man.
I hope you
we've been
guys are right.
off and on, but I'm on it now. Like, this dude is. There's something about it. We don't see it, but there's something there, and I hope this magic continues. Let's
You
go.
have to be special to and have your team not get tilted. I'm just saying.
Exactly. He's like, come on, guys. I'm perks. It's fine. Don't worry. Got
Pretty
this.
sure if like the rookie and the shy are not at Worlds, Perks is not afraid of anybody. Right?
That's right.
Doinby's already out. Right? He's beaten Faker. He's beaten Danwon players. There's nobody at this tournament that he's actually afraid of anymore. So.
Yeah. That's it.
Anything can
Unlock
happen.
them. Unlock
We
unlock
get
perks, man.
5-game 2018 G2 versus RNG again. Like we
Yep.
could see some real vintage Perks stuff happen this tournament. I'm
We're much
excited.
better than that 2018 G2, by the way. Let me just
Yeah.
put it out there. Hjarnan got replaced by Perks, so we got upgraded Hjarnan.
Yeah, exactly.
Perks by Sven.
Sven and Mithy, yeah.
Then okay.
Harnan and Wadid.
All right. Well, on the other side of the bracket, we've got T1 versus HLE, Hanwha Life, and then Damwon versus Mad Lions. Let's start with T1 and Hanwha Life.
Yeah, T1 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think Hanwha Life. Again, I'm actually surprised they got out, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think T1 for me is 3-0. I'm just gonna say mine. Mitchell, you said 3-0.
Yeah, I said 3-0. Hanwha Life is like very similar, I think, in aspect to like Gen.G, where it's like they just lane really well, especially in mid lane. Like Chovy, BDD, they just lane incredibly well.
Mhm.
They basically are the soul of their team. Everybody else is just running with headless chickens
Yeah.
and playing solo queue. They could win, they could lose.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay.
But they're not a team.
That's how I feel like
I
too.
mean, that top lane on Hanwha Life could be worse than a lot of our NA tops. That's a problem.
Oh,
Like he
yeah.
I think he had 1 or 2 good games, but like most of the time, not great. Especially with the 100 CS lead mid laner on average or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 3-0 T1. I think Hanwha
Oh,
Life Esports. My conspiracy is that because they're a life insurance company, that's what Hanwha Life is. They've definitely been breaking some kneecaps behind the scene. Like
Oh god.
Mon with his cheating scandal thingy.
Uh-huh.
then upset with his stuff. Like every group they're in, there's just some weird stuff happens, and people like it's like the mafia, man. So
Yeah,
if they do
something's
something
going
about
on.
that, maybe they could get a winner or something. But Faker's not gonna beat Bride, so we're good.
Yeah. Okay, Alistair.
I'll give HLE a game.
Oh,
I'll
there you
go
go.
3-1.
That's
3-1
nice.
T1. 3-1 T1, baby. Rhymes.
3-1 T1. Okay.
Nice.
Damwon versus Mad Lions.
Yeah. So, little history lesson for you
3-1.
guys.
Damn one.
Mad Lions went 2-3 against Danwon at MSI, and it was a very close series. It was not like a 3-2 that was like each game was a stomp. Every game was pretty close, pretty nail bitey. Danwon is also looking a lot worse this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still think Danwon's gonna win, but there's a real chance that one of the favorites for the tournaments does get knocked out by Mad Lions. Like that's a real
Mm.
conversation topic.
That'd be crazy.
We're all talking about how C9 has their shot, right?
Yeah.
This is what EU fan people are talking about right now. We almost beat Danwon at MSI. Mad Lions are definitely a BO5 team rather than a best of one
Yeah,
team.
for sure.
If anybody's gonna beat Dan1, it's either Mad Lions or T1. So, um, I
That's crazy.
ah, I like kind of want to say Mad Lions just to like be that one dude that predicts it. So I think I'm gonna do 3-2 Mad Lions. I
Okay.
think they're gonna clutch it out. They almost did it last year. Fnatic almost clutched it out against Top Esports in a 2-3.
Mm.
These things can happen, and no one's gonna remember that I predicted Danwon to beat Mad Lions, right? But people will remember if I predict Mad Lions to beat Danwon, and I'm the one dude who did it. I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna happen, but I think it's closer than usual.
I
Yeah.
do want to correct you, Mitchell. Last year, Mad Lions didn't make it out of play-ins.
That's
So,
true. Well,
That's true.
I was talking about MSI, but yeah.
MSI.
This
Yeah.
year,
that's it.
then.
Just
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, this year, yeah,
book-
yeah.
book
Last
that
year,
correction.
true. They had Shadow though. We got Elyoya, you know.
That's
Different
right.
beast. We got our Moot, the Wukong one trick.
There you go.
Let's go. Don't play
Okay.
Aurelia ever, Armoot. Oh my god.
Not very good on certain characters that aren't his like good characters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Mitchell's alone in this. Honestly, I was thinking of it too the whole time. I think it's 3-2 Mad. I think in the sense
Wow.
that
Oh, what?
I think
Let's
that
go.
RNG doesn't win MSI if Mad Lions didn't push Dawn and like make them show their cards. Like they were on the break and they had to show everything, and then RNG's like, oh yeah, I'll take those notes and win 3-2. Like
Yep.
I'm just saying you never know, but I think the Mad Lions is the best thing for the tournament to be in this part of the bracket because no other second seed would have been like, ooh, will they beat Dawn? I'm like, no, none of the
Yeah,
other second
yeah.
seeds. Maybe EDG, but other than that, like none of the other second seeds would have been interesting, right? I think this is great for us. I think that there's a meme out there in the community, in the Chinese community, because I speak Chinese, where it's like G2 is basically the fifth LPLC. I think it was actually mentioned in Reddit somewhere, but G2 is the fifth LPLC because every Worlds that China has won, G2 has taken out the big like Korean bad guys
Oh,
on the
yeah.
other team,
Uh-huh.
or they've been defeated on the way up. Mad Lions
Gotcha.
might take that crown. They're the first seed from EU. They'll beat down one, and then they, I guess, roll over in finals to like RNG or EDG or somehow, right?
Yeah.
It is possible.
They'd have to beat T1 also.
They would.
They have to beat T1, but
Oh my
tough.
god, what a crazy run to
I'm
finals
not as
for Mad
big on
Lions that would be.
T1. I want T1 to do well because of Faker, but I think there's just too much rookie on that team.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Like this team didn't even solidify. It's like Liquid. Like this team didn't solidify until like a few months before playoffs.
Potential. They have
Yeah.
potential. We have no idea what
If
they're gonna
potential
do.
could win
Yeah.
Worlds, I think NA would TSM might have won Worlds like 12 times out of 11.
Oh,
Nah,
gosh.
no. The
So-
LPL and Korea
It's
are
what
like
everyone
known
talks
for
about.
having like 2 or 3 just random people make it to finals or win the whole thing. Like Suning, they
Mhm.
just had like 3 randos on their team just make it to
Right.
finals.
Right.
So I mean
This is true.
that's what you gotta get, right? I feel like that's how people can make those Cinderella runs. It's people who've just literally never been to Worlds ever, and it's like
Yeah.
I don't know, I could do anything here.
Okay, that is fair.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of our teams are actually not veterans who make it to the finals. At least one
Yep.
of them.
Yeah.
They also usually lose, but like, yes,
There's some merit to it, you know. Like when Gen G first made it to finals, they had a bunch of randos on their team too, or they were Samsung Galaxy at that time. Bunch of randos made it to 5 games against SKT with a bunch of randos. The next year they ran it back, they 3-0'd them. You know, these things happen. So
Yeah.
FPX was literally all first time worlds, and they just
they won the
made
whole
the
thing.
run.
Mhm.
IG
for the
same.
most part, too.
IG was the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, rookie.
Oh, rookie made it on KT Rollster like a long time ago,
Yeah.
right?
A long
Yeah.
time ago, in like season, and IG the year after in season 5 where they collapsed.
Oh
We don't
yes.
talk about that. Rookie's a god.
Yeah.
anyways, that's what I got for it. I think Mad actually has a good chance. They know what to do here, and they're not like they're not as raw as they were at MSI. So I also don't know if they're
Hopium.
playing as well, but I want that Hopium.
Okay.
I just want
Alistair?
Valorant to not be like 3-0ing everyone and just be
Let's
boring.
go.
Okay. Alistair, what you got?
See again, I wanna join in, but I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair.
I
I'll
already
see you
said
guys next week.
3-1 damn one. Next question. I mean, I would love to see Mad and C9 move on. I would love to see Mad and C9 in the finals. I don't see it happening though.
Opposite side of the bracket.
I think it would be cool. I think it would be really hype. I don't see it though.
Yeah,
No one saw TL beating IG in 2019 or G2 beating SKT, and then we got NA versus EU in fight. I'll get 3U'd by EU any day of the week in finals. I'll take that.
if that's what it costs, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't know,
guys.
man.
We could do
I
this.
kind of take it more personal if we lose to EU. That's just my thing there.
But
Like
if that's the cost of getting NA to World Finals for the first time ever.
Okay, true. If it was,
Right.
yeah, that's true. Okay, if it was like C9 versus Mad Lions in the finals, heck yeah, that would totally be like, that would be totally nuts, man. Yeah, you're right. I'd be hype about that, even if we lost. Okay, I'm going with Alistair. Yeah, we wouldn't, but I'm going here with Alistair. I think Damwon's gonna win 3-2. I'm gonna make it close. I mean, look, man, I want any Western team to make it far, just because even though like, EU is kind of like our rivals on this side. I think
Do we want Mad Lions to make it to finals just so they get 3-0'd again?
no.
Another EU team to get 3-0'd in finals?
I
I don't want them to get 3-0, but they would have had to beat Danwon and T1 to get there.
Yeah, so they'd be pretty good, I think.
It'd be crazy. I don't know. It'd be like
those
all
would
right.
be more exciting matches on the way to there versus like what the alternative would be. Which like T1 winning would be nice, but it's not as exciting because we've seen this.
I want a banger finals, man. And
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah, it's true. Last year's finals was pretty banger. Not gonna lie.
Mhm.
it was, but
Yeah.
but guess what? The 2 times before that was EU, and it was just a slaughter.
Yeah.
So
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Well,
I want good skins and a good finals. That's all that I care about.
I think those are reasonable
I mean,
requests,
on the request
Alistair.
over there, are we,
I think those are perfectly reasonable requests. I do want to say that, I think, I don't remember what I was going to say. It was something good, but it must not have been that good because I didn't remember it. Is there any final thoughts? Because we did predict everything. Any last, and while you're maybe giving your last thoughts, maybe it'll jog my memory.
I would just like to say I'm pretty sure at a podcast of previous times I gave us a 9% to make it out of groups. We did it, guys. We made it. We made it out of groups. We can make it to semis. We can make it to finals. We can win the whole thing. It's just how low a percentage you want. There's a number out there in the world where we do something, and it's gonna be 1 year eventually. I don't know how high on Hopium I am right now, but it's pretty hype. Teams are looking real bad. Our best teams, Danwon, EDG, even T1, they're very beatable. They're so beatable. It's just, can you get through the laning phase?
If there's any chance, like I agree. I feel like we're there. This is probably as good a chance as any to try to get
the
far.
gap is closed from the ceiling down, guys.
Yes, we've done it. Okay. I think that, this is what I was going to say. I also think that, again, remote play sucks so bad, right? Because we say this all the time, but right now, it would be so awesome to see a live crowd, finals. And again, I always put the stipulation on there is how would these teams perform if they were in front of an audience? How much would more nerves play? We'll never know. Huge faker, and that's the thing, we'll never really know, and it's not an excuse or anything, but it always is going to leave my mind wondering what if, would these, kind of, I don't know, would it affect how the teams play? I don't know, but hopefully next year it's a different story, but we'll have to see. Anyways, I wanted to throw that out there because I still always think about that in the back of my mind. Any last thoughts for you guys before we wrap it up?
Yeah,
Good?
I was gonna say,
Okay, Kevin.
with your note there, this would have been the best worlds ever, group stage wise, like in terms of just entertainment and closeness.
Yeah.
And if only, like, unfortunately, if there was a crowd, do you know how incredible some of these games would have been? Like, we haven't had it for years now, so like it's hard to like remember. But like watching some VODs back, I'm like, damn, that was hype.
Yeah.
And we just haven't had that. I still think it probably is. Like, if you just think about it, just so many storylines. Like, this time it wasn't like, oh, 2015 LPL collapsed because Juggernaut patch. Now this time, like, no, they collapsed. They just, like, they might still win Worlds somehow, but like they collapsed for sure. You saw an actual like a narrative come to fruition.
Yeah.
And I want everyone to know that I said 60% for NA.
There you go.
You guys called me crazy.
I probably did. Okay, well,
but I will say that anyone can beat anyone. Like, this league is being patched into a game, and it's not as pretty, but it's being patched into a game where like anyone can beat anyone, and like there's a lot more variance, but it's also more entertaining. And maybe that's how it is. Like, we watch so many. If you guys have ever watched professional sports, like, it's not perfect play. There's so much boneheaded, like, silly or like personally like bad decision making there. And these guys have been doing this for tens of years sometimes. Like in some sports, like football, for example, or basketball. Like, these guys are like 20-year veterans, and they're still making dumb plays all the time. So like, I think we should stop expecting perfection. We should just like hold your teams to a standard of improvement and like adaptation. It's kind of like how old G2 did it.
Yeah.
And like, let's just stop looking for perfection in the sense of like, oh, they like did the rotations correctly. And like, I think the Fiesta way of playing the game is how the game will survive and grow, because like that's when people are tested. I do not ever want to return to the dark ages of wards, the wall of wards, and then the Korean team chokes you out while falling asleep at the keyboard. Like, I just don't want to ever see that again. And that's why I'm glad that Damwon's good, by the way. It's a big deal for Korea. You can see the Damwon effect on the other teams, even though they're still kind of nonsense in some ways.
See, I agree with you. I'm still flaming Perks when he does that LeBlanc play.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what being a sports fan is about. You can flame the players, but don't say this is a bad game. That's where I got to put the line.
So funny.
I think it's totally fine for a game to be entertaining and imperfect.
Between bad and low quality.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, there is a difference.
I hope that Perks play stays a highlight for the rest of eternity. It's like the funniest thing ever. Oh, I'm back. Oh, guys, help!
There's literally no reason. I can't fathom what he was thinking. He probably like was like a quarter second away from his W, like wearing out like a W away. Well, like, he didn't need a W away. He was safe too. So it's just like a habit, I'm sure some of us have done it before too. We just not being streamed.
Someone
do it all the time.
Reply to his tweet saying what world skin. Someone should just reply to the tweet with that clip.
Hey, that would be a legendary LeBlanc skin.
Oh my god.
All right, well,
great recall.
Well, that's gonna wrap it up for today. I know a lot of stuff out there, but man, it's so fun to watch. I'm super excited for this year. I can't wait till we have live audiences again. But I think it starts on Friday. Quarterfinals start on Friday. So
Yes,
our next episode will be next Monday again. I think the last day of quarters is on that Monday too. So be on the lookout for that. But as always, want to thank my friends and co-hosts Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair for always sharing their wise insights. If you guys have any questions, feel free to tweet us at the All In Podcast or send your email to the questions at theallinpodcast.gg. But until next time, enjoy your climb on the Rift. Try not to be too toxic, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.